Hi guys, I'm Hollie Clinker.
Feel so holy, 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 holy.
Do you find it hard to summarize any piece of English literature? Worry not. Learn easily with Hollie. Let's see the summary of the poem Elegy written in a Country Churchyard by Thomas Gray. Thomas Gray is an English poet, writer, and self-critic, who published only 13 poems in his lifetime. He is widely known for his Elegy written in a Country Churchyard, published in 1751. The poem is partly based on Gray's Scots following the death of the poet Richard West in 1742. What is the poem about? The poem begins by describing a countryside, especially the graveyard in a village church. It tells about the life of the rustics, that is, the countrymen, or simply the villagers. It mainly focuses on the dead and buried men in the graveyard. The poem is basically a tribute to all the village men who died without recognition of the outer world. Meaning of the title. An elegy is a poem or song that expresses grief and loss, usually for someone who has died. This elegy was written by Thomas Gray in a country churchyard, hence the title was given to the following poem. The poem has 32 stanzas with 3 stanzas of epitaph. Epitaph is an inscription on a tomb or a grave in memory of the one buried there. The poem begins with the poet describing the evening scene in a rural or village churchyard. The curfew tolls the knell of parting day, the lowing herd winds slowly over the lea, the ploughman homeward plods his weary way, and leaves the world to darkness and to me. The church bell rings to inform the passing of the day and the arrival of the night. The curfew tolls means the sounding of a bell at the evening, usually to announce a death or funeral. The knell of parting day means that the bell is rung to inform the ending of the day. The plowman and his cattle return to their homes after the long tiresome day. Darkness begins to engulf the village. The poet or speaker is present in graveyard belonging to the church in Stoke Poges, Buckinghamshire. As the night arrives, the surroundings of the church's graveyard is all quiet. Only the sounds of the beetle and the owl is heard. Among the group of elm trees, there is the graveyard in which the villagers' ancestors are buried. Each in his narrow cell forever laid. The rude forefathers of the hamlet sleep. The poet says that the buried ancestors of the village are all sleeping in their little coffins deep inside the ground. Here the word rude means rural or countryside, and the word hamlet refers to a small village. The breezy call of incense-breathing morn. The swallow twittering from the straw-built shed. The cock's shrill clarion or the echoing horn. No more shall rouse them from their lowly bed. The poet tells that no sound can wake the dead ancestors from their deathbed. He mentions the sweet scent of the morning breeze, the little bird singing the morning call of the cock, or even the horn sounds cannot wake them anymore. No children run to lisp their sire's return, or climb his knees the envied kiss to share. The dead men will not receive the love and affection from their families anymore. They will not receive warm hugs and kisses from their children anymore. They will never feel the touch of love ever again. Still not subscribed? Subscribe now. Subscribe now. Don't ignore to like, share, and comment below. Let not ambition mock their useful toil. The men buried under the ground were hard-working men when they were alive. All their labor, such as plowing, harvesting, and farming, led to the betterment of the village and its people. Their hard work did not go in vain. They were all skilled in their jobs. The speaker asks the ambitious people living in the cities not to belittle the simple life of the rustics. The villagers have their hardships of life much like others. And all that beauty, all that wealth ever gave, awaits alike the inevitable hour. In the above lines, the speaker states that all humans, irrespective of being rich or poor, ambitious or unambitious, all will die undoubtingly. Death is inevitable and every human life ends in death. As the poet beautifully says, the paths of glory lead but to the grave. Can honor's voice provoke the silent dust? or flattery soothe the dull cold ear of death. The speaker says that when rich people die, they have glorious ceremonies and decorative tombstones boasting their honors and wealth, unlike the poor rustics. He says that none of it will bring back the dead to life. The honor's voice or the flattery will not soothe the ears of the dead. Full many a gem of purest ray serene. The poet asks the world not to underestimate the dead and buried villagers. Because among the buried ancestors there might be a village Hampton, the little tyrant, an inglorious Milton, or Cromwell who did not get the opportunity to prove themselves. They are like the hidden gems deep under the ocean, or as the poet goes on to say, full many a flower is born to blush unseen, and waste its sweetness on the desert air. They are like the desert flowers whose beauties are unseen and their sweetness perishes in the desert air without notice. The poet further says that the villagers do not wish to involve in treachery and deceit. They are sober and honest people. They choose to live a simple life. Hence they keep themselves away from crowding cities and kingdoms. They like peace and honesty. With uncouth rhymes and shapeless sculpture decked, implores the passing tribute of a sigh. The villagers' tombstones are simple and not fanciful. The language written in it is ordinary, but there is truth in their tribute and memory. The poet says that this poem will also be a tribute to all the dead villagers that rests in their graveyard without recognition. From the 24th stanza onwards, the poet begins to assume himself being dead, and imagines what will the villager say when a curious man inquires about his death. He presumes that the villager might say he is a free-spirited man who goes to the mountains in the morning and stands under the beech tree sometimes and also mutters his fancies. The villager may say that he misses the poet. The last 3 stanzas of the poem is an epitaph that the poet wrote for himself. He begins as, "Here rests his head upon the lap of earth a youth to fortune, and to fame unknown." It says that here lies the youth who was not popular. He lived a melancholic or sorrowful life. He gave his life to misery, and all he longed was for a friend. All his merits lies with him in the bosom of his Father and his God. Thank you. Subscribe for more videos.